Hi guys, and this is my commentary of the movie Batman and Robin. However, before I start my commentary on the movie, I'm going to discuss something regarding the movie and how I feel. And the reason I'm doing this before the actual commentary of the movie is because I don't know if I will be lucky enough to find anybody who is listening to the commentary, but I also don't know if anybody is going to stick around because a commentary can be quite long, and I'm not sure if people will stick around to the end of the commentary. The thing that I'm going to discuss about this movie is something that I think would have improved it, or I think it would have made it better. And what that is regarding this movie has a focus and a theme on family and the importance of love and togetherness, which is a great topic and a great theme. One of the ways that this movie deals with that topic is through Batman's or Bruce Wayne's trusty butler, Alfred Pennyworth. And in this movie, Alfred Pennyworth is portrayed as being very sick. And there will be spoilers in this review and commentary and what I'm saying. So the character Batgirl is in this movie. And in this movie, we have got Batgirl as Barbara Wilson. Batgirl is supposed to be Barbara Gordon, and she is supposed to be the daughter of Gotham's police commissioner. And the idea was to create a sort of relationship and a tension between Barbara Wilson and Alfred. So the DNA of Barbara Wilson was changed. She was no longer a Gordon. She's now a Wilson. And the thing about that is, I don't think it was necessary to do that, to create that upset and tension with Alfred and his illness, because Bruce Wayne was raised by Alfred. When Bruce was very young, his parents were murdered in front of him also, which is even more tragic. And he was raised by Alfred, and we do know, any Batman fan will know that Bruce loves Alfred and Alfred loves Bruce. Alfred raised Bruce, so I think the tension and the upset with Alfred's illness can all come from interaction with Bruce and Alfred. I do not think you need to change the DNA of Barbara to create any of those types of scenes. I also think that keeping Barbara as Barbara Gordon could have been interesting, and her motivation to fight crime could have been seeing her father coming home and having injuries, as well as being under a lot of stress. If you are the police commissioner of Gotham City, you are going to have injuries and you are going to be under stress. And I think that Barbara could have been inspired to become Batgirl by witnessing her own father, and that could have also played into the whole family theme. So I also think as well, another idea would have been that Bruce Wayne, seeing Alfred becoming more and more unwell as the movie progresses, I think you could have done something interesting with that, where the stress is too much for Bruce and he is not able to function as Batman, which means Robin has to fight crime alone. And as we know, Robin is not as experienced as Batman. And I think Robin, with his inexperience, could have been injured. And Robin himself could have had to have been bedridden because of his injury. Bruce Wayne could have realised that he failed Robin in a way because he was not able to cope with what was taking place with Alfred. So you've got Alfred in one bed who is really dying from an illness. That, of course, is destroying Bruce. It also destroys Barbara as well, but I don't think it needs to be that way. You know, Bruce could see Alfred in one bed and go into another room, and there's Richard in another bed. Obviously, two different reasons why they are bedridden, but nonetheless, it would be emotional. So that's just something I wanted to get out of the way. I am now going to press the play button on Batman and Robin, so here we go. Released in 1997, directed by Joel Schumacher, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Uma Thurman, Alicia Silverstone. The Warner Brothers logo has just transformed into a bat logo with ice. We are now getting there are 5 main characters in this movie. Their names are appearing on screen. The order: Arnold Schwarzenegger, George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Uma Thurman, Alicia Silverstone. Something that I like about this, when you see the names on the screen, there is a sound effect that they add when the names appear. The sound effect is that of to me it sounds like an ice skate on ice. And Mr. Freeze is the main villain in this movie. So to create that sort of theme, I think makes sense. So we are now seeing Batman and Robin getting suited up. They're choosing their weapons. There are going to be vehicles that will be arising from the ground. The Batmobile for this movie is now on screen. Batman and Robin are now kind of just waiting around because the Batmobile is on a platform underground. So we just have to wait. The platform is also spinning around to point the Batmobile in a specific direction. And here we are. First line of dialogue in the movie goes to the character of Robin. And Batman is getting into the Batmobile alone. Alfred is here, and he is expressing his hope that Batman will bring this Batmobile back in one piece. The Batmobile has got absolutely no roof. So if you're fighting crime in Gotham City as Batman, you would think you would rather have your entire body protected, but that is not the case. Robin is very much got his own vehicle. It's a motorbike, and it is called the Red Bird. Batman and Robin have now left this part of the Batcave, and we see that Alfred is not very well. And anyone who has seen this movie will know where this leads to. Something that this movie does and I think it's a good thing. We find out that the villain is positioned in Gotham Museum, and that was given to us by Commissioner Gordon. And one of the things I like about that, usually when the bat logo or the bat signal is shining, we always see that Batman arrives where he is needed, and we don't really see how he knows where to go exactly, because the Batlight can either bring him to the top of police headquarters or to the scene of the crime, and we never get to see how he knows exactly where he needs to be. This movie tackles that. When you hear Batman speaking, he does not speak in an Austrian accent, and what I mean by that, the first name to be credited in this movie is Arnold Schwarzenegger. So the movie is called Batman and Robin, but the first name to appear on the list of cast is the villain, Arnold Schwarzenegger. We get to see the outside of the museum, and I think it is definitely either CGI or a miniature, but I do like the work they did with the outside of the museum. I think it looks good. So, a lot of the security guards are shooting at Mr. Freeze, and the bullets are just bouncing off his suit. Batman decides to enter the building by one of his favourite means of entrance. He enters the building through a glass roof, or a glass window on the roof. And in this series of movies, and when I say that, I mean Batman 1989, right up to this movie, 4 movies, entering buildings through windows on roofs is something that is very much associated with Batman. And he does it in Batman 1989, he does it in this movie, and he does it in the previous movie. I don't have any memories of him doing it in Batman Returns. So, Mr. Freeze is proving to be quite difficult to deal with. There's not a lot of trouble being caused for Mr. Freeze, really, at this point in the movie. We see that he has a fondness for diamonds. One of the problems as well about this scene is, of course, when Robin enters the building, and I know a lot of people, including myself, do not really like the fact that the Robin logo is kind of blasted onto the wall. It's very cartoonish, of course. And the other thing as well, Robin's motorbike to me does not look strong enough to be able to blast through walls. So our heroes have entered the building. In order for Batman to stand face to face with Mr. Freeze, he did a bit of a Fred Flintstone impression down a model Brachiosaurus, I think that dinosaur was. This movie came out in the same year as The Lost World, Jurassic Park. So Brachiosaurus dinosaurs were appearing in all sorts of movies. One of the things I like as well about this movie, it's a very small detail, but I like the sound of Mr. Freeze's freeze gun when it's freezing things. Mr. Freeze has quite a collection of henchmen. I think he might have the largest collection in these movies, really. I can't think of any other Batman villain in this series of movies in these 4 movies, I think this is kind of the largest amount of henchmen that I've ever seen a villain have at their disposal. So we're still in the museum. Batman and Robin realize that in order to cope with the frozen museum, they're going to have to use ice skates. So they click their heels, and there you go, the ice skates appear. People had a lot of problems with that. If I had to rely on crime fighters to take on the type of criminals that we get in Gotham City, I would like my crime fighters to be as prepared as possible. So I do not have any problems with that at all. If they have to, fight crime on ice, why not have ice skates? So I really didn't mind that at all. Mr. Freeze has decided to leave the museum, and his Freeze mobile has got a rocket placed inside. He has just told Batman he is glad something. I'm glad you were able to get here or something. I'm not sure why. Batman is out to stop Mr. Freeze. Robin is clinging on to the outside of the Freeze mobile, while Batman and Mr. Freeze are on the inside. We got a little more of the gun sound effect. Mr. Freeze has just frozen Batman's arms to a wall. We're now finding out that the rocket is going to sort of explode, and it will destroy a large part of Gotham City. Robin is still clinging on and making his way. We get some ice puns from Mr. Freeze that, of course, are littered throughout this movie. So Mr. Freeze has a rocket to destroy Gotham, but he has left the rocket and is heading back to Gotham. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. Enter Robin. Little bit of dialogue between Batman and Robin taking place here. So we're getting some gadgets and weapons. And Batman is no longer frozen to the walls, thanks to Robin with his laser gun. So Mr. Freeze wanted to blow the rocket up, but now Batman has decided that he wants to blow the rocket up. Batman and Robin have exited the rocket on doors, and they're now skydiving on doors. It does not make a lot of sense, but it does look good, I think. This is all very impressive CGI. It really is. I mean, you might not like the tone of the movie, but if things look good, they look good. Mr. Freeze has lost his diamond. Robin has got the diamond. We also get a reference from Robin that I am sure fans of superheroes will recognise. Robin has just said cowabunga, which is very much a catchphrase from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, at the start of the movie, Alfred also said he will cancel the pizzas. We have also had cowabunga. We did have Batman using a model Brachiosaurus, very much like Fred Flintstone. So there you go, folks. So far in a Batman movie, we have got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle references and something very Fred Flintstone-esque. We are now back on ground, running through a building with lots of huge metal doors. The inside of the building also seems to be frozen. Speaking of frozen, Robin is now frozen. Mr. Freeze gets the diamond back. This diamond has changed hands quite a lot. Mr. Freeze has just informed Batman that if someone is encased in ice, their entire body, I mean, there is 11 minutes to save the person. So Mr. Freeze is making his getaway. He's frozen a hole in the wall, which was created by his freeze mobile. He has just given a little wave. So Batman is putting Robin into some water, still encased in ice. And we see that Batman has got his own laser gun. So the water is being heated up. The idea, obviously, I'm sure you'll know, is to defrost Robin. And there you go, folks. Robin is safe. But Mr. Freeze has got away. So we are now looking at another building from the outside, which is either CGI or miniature. This is actually set in South America. Over to the left, we had a stop motion lizard, which, if you look at the previous scene, Batman, Robin and Mr. Freeze flying around the skies of Gotham was very much CGI, and it shows that CGI was in use by the people who made this movie, and for some reason they decided to go back to a stop motion character or creature. Stop motion was very big in the 1960s, and this movie has been compared to the Adam West Batman series of the 1960s, and I'm not sure if that's a deliberate choice to sort of reference that time period, but it is odd that we have that very, very sort of replaced form of creativity in a movie. You know, we go back to stop motion for some reason. Pamela Isley is played by Uma Thurman, and we see that she's got a work colleague, her boss, I think, played by John Glover. John Glover's character is Jason Woodrow. Jason is clearly not exactly what you would call good. There's something going on here. And John is actually in another movie that I think John has a bit of an achievement, I suppose, that he's been in movies that feature Batman logos being blasted into walls. John Glover is a great character actor, and he was in the movie Gremlins 2. I think it was called Gremlins 2, The New Batch. There's a Batman logo that is blasted onto a wall in that movie. And in this movie, we have the Robin logo blasted into a wall. And I mean, not the R, but an actual sort of bird-shaped logo for Robin. So John has a very unique achievement. Something as well that we're seeing is almost the birth of Bane, or at least this movie's representation of Bane. We have seen Bane going from a criminal who was played by an actor who I think was called Michael Reed McKay. There's something called Venom that has changed this guy's complete appearance. I think it was Antonio Diego that played the original version, or sorry, Michael Reed McKay played that version of Bane. But now that the venom has entered Bane's body, we switch to Jeep Swanson. Just like the director of this movie, and to my knowledge as well, I know that Michael Gough, who played Alfred, these people are sadly no longer with us. If I should forget to ever acknowledge that somebody on this movie, either in front of the camera or behind the camera, is no longer with us, I don't mean to offend or anything. It's just that there are so many people involved in movies. I cannot keep track of every single person that has died, or, you know. But I think Jeep is gone, just like Michael Gough and Joel Schumacher. Of course, the previous Batman in the previous movie, that particular actor, of course, has recently sadly also left us. So, Pamela Isley has had some offers from Jason. Join her boss and get involved with what he is trying to do. Pamela refuses and is, well, before she gets pushed into a lot of chemicals, and because this movie is over the top and campy, before she was pushed by Jason, he threw his arms up in the air and he let out a scream. It kind of reminds me of how Catwoman was created in Batman Returns. She was pushed by someone, by actually her boss as well. So they were both pushed by their bosses, and the push created the villain that they became. We're back in the Batcave. Robin is defrosting, and we're getting footage of what Mr. Freeze was like before he became Mr. Freeze. He was called Dr. Victor Fries. And something that I think, how many supervillains are created by falling into acid or some sort of liquid? It really is a very supervillain type thing, because that's how Victor Fries became Mr. Freeze. He accidentally was thrown into the liquid substance, which altered his DNA. That is such a supervillain type characteristic. There's always, you get that so much, don't you? There's always that sort of thing they fall into. Some sort of liquid that does something to them. Of course, in this movie series, we had the Joker, who, of course, was very much affected by falling into a container. I think that was acid, way back in the first movie. We're no longer in the Batcave. Bruce Wayne and Alfred are having a conversation. We can clearly see these men really do care and love each other. They care for each other and they love each other. We really do see how much these men mean to each other. The conversation has just come to an end. We see Bruce is now having a flashback to a time when he was a young child, and he's running down a corridor in Wayne Manor, and he falls, and Alfred is there to pick him up and make sure he's okay. And the actor who played Bruce Wayne in that flashback, that little boy, he was actually, I think, called Eric Lloyd, and he, about a year earlier, was in a movie called Dunstan Checks In. I think he was pretty much the main character in that movie. The actor that played the younger version of Alfred was John Simmons. We are now back in Southern America, and we see that Pamela Isley has returned from the ground. She looks very different. Jason is witnessing the return of Pamela. For some reason, she also sounds different when she talks now. Jason, of course, just tried to kill this woman not that long ago. I think it's a good idea that if you try to kill someone and they don't die, or they do die and they return, you should probably get out of their way very quickly. But Jason has decided to stick around. He has now paid the price, because we now find out that if you kiss Poison Ivy in the lips, you die. Jason's tongue has also turned green, without the help of any sort of sweet or candy snack that might be out there, chewing gum or sweet. That would probably be a much easier and much more pleasant way to get a green tongue, without having to actually die to achieve it. So, Jason is gone. Poison Ivy's kiss has killed someone. Uma Thurman, of course, is walking around now and talking to herself, which in a way is what I'm doing, I suppose. We're getting a lot of sort of character motivation and what the character of Poison Ivy is going to kind of achieve, and we're getting to know what way she's thinking. We now leave the hot climate of Southern America, and we are now in the lair of Mr. Freeze. We're having a sing-along with Mr. Freeze and his henchmen. One of the things as well that I think this movie got kind of good was the makeup of Arnold Schwarzenegger / Victor Freeze. His skin, that blue metallic look, I think it's a really interesting, very well looking. It really looks good, the skin. And his eyes as well. I think he's probably wearing contact lenses, because his eyes have a very metallic look about them, and I like that as well. We just had a cameo from an actress called Vivica A. Fox, and I'm sure most people out there will know who that is. Vivica is by no means an unknown. We also find out that Mr. Freeze's passion thaws for his bride alone. Vivica A. Fox clearly had a bit of a liking. In this movie, she's called Miss B. Haven. She had a liking for Mr. Freeze, but she's not going to get very far. So Mr. Freeze has also kind of done a Poison Ivy type thing, talking about what his plans are and what he's going to do. It's all very campy, I think, when villains do that sort of thing. It's like Saturday morning cartoon where they just randomly talk about their evil plan. So Mr. Freeze has a secret lair in his secret lair that contains none other than his wife, encased in a tube of, maybe that's water. The character is Nora Freeze. And we, to be honest, that was actually a mannequin. You would not know that, I don't think. It really looked very lifelike. Back to Wayne Manor, and we have got a visitor at the front door. Alfred has failed to be able to make it to the door, but don't worry, folks, because Robin/Richard has got the door. So, here we have the other main character of the movie. There are 5. This is Alicia Silverstone. The first time we see Alicia in this movie. So, as you already more than likely know, even at the start of this commentary, I kind of pointed out Barbara is Barbara Wilson, not Barbara Gordon. Alfred and Barbara are related to each other because Barbara's mother was called Margaret, and that was Alfred's sister. We are now in a place that is called... This was actually filmed at a place called Greystone in Hollywood, and apparently this was once a mansion, but it has been turned into the American Film Institute. It's a real life outside shot. I think it's quite beautiful. There's a lot of wind and leaves are on the ground. It's very wintry looking, but there's a lot of mist and wind and smoke, and I think it's a beautiful looking shot. So Barbara has just spotted a motorbike, and she seems to be really interested. Alfred, of course, does not want Barbara doing anything with motorbikes because they're deemed to be dangerous. The motorbike is actually purple, and I have seen clips and photographs from the 1960s Batman series with Adam West, and in that series Batgirl wore a purple suit and she had a purple motorbike. So we're now back indoors, and we see that Alfred is trying to find his brother, who also I think seems to be a butler. There's a lot of elephants on this screen now that we're looking at. We're getting a lot of photographs and videos of people riding around on elephants. Little bit of dialogue taking place between characters, Alfred and Barbara. We see a photograph of Barbara's mother, and there is 2 words written on the photograph: Love Peg. And I can assure you that further along in this movie, we will have a continuity mistake regarding this photograph and those 2 words. They will disappear and reappear at some stage. Barbara has now just left Alfred. She's wearing a dressing gown, but we see that underneath the dressing gown, she is wearing clothing for outdoors. A jumper and some leather trousers. And I'm sure a lot of boys will enjoy seeing Alicia Silverstone wearing leather trousers. So Barbara is exiting Wayne Manor. She's got a motorbike helmet. So, clearly the motorbike that she saw earlier will be ridden. We now see her in the garage or garage, whatever you want to call it. The purple motorbike is being taken. So we're now at a different scene. This is out on a street. Um, it looks, it does look a little fake, but it does also look like something from Batman 1989. There's a beautiful red car being driven around the streets, but now we see that the car is being driven by Bane with Poison Ivy as a passenger in the back. So Bane is very big and strong with green skin, and Marvel have the Incredible Hulk. Marvel have got the Incredible Hulk, who is big, strong with green skin, and Batman has got Bane, who is big, strong with green skin. Another different set now. We are at Gotham Observatory. There's a lot of people around this particular thing. One of those people that is easy to spot because of their clothing. Everybody in this scene are wearing colours that are very muted. But we have Elle Macpherson, who is playing Bruce Wayne's partner / girlfriend, I suppose. And she's wearing a very, very striking pink outfit that you would not need a telescope. You would not need the help of a telescope to see this. You would see this quite from some distance. We also see that Bruce Wayne, we find out that he would prefer the telescope not be pointed at his bedroom. I'm sure there are a lot of women out there who would love to point a telescope at George Clooney's bedroom. We also have got none other than Elizabeth Sanders in this scene. Elizabeth was the real life wife of the creator of Batman, Bob Kane. Elizabeth appeared in the previous movie as well as Batman Returns. I don't think she was in Batman 1989. Usually in a movie, when a man and woman are together in a relationship, the man is usually taller than the woman. But I think Elle Macpherson looks to be taller than George Clooney. Poison Ivy is back to being very much dressed like Pamela Isley. She's putting a proposal to Bruce Wayne, not a marriage proposal, by the way, which Bruce Wayne, we find out, is very awkward when marriage is being brought up, because we just saw that kind of happen. So Pamela has given a proposal to Bruce that would pretty much wipe out humanity, but it would really allow plant life to thrive. So she has been rejected. The proposal has been rejected. There's a lot of laughter going on. Bruce Wayne does seem to have a bit of a habit of making enemies with rejected proposals. Something very similar like this happened in the previous movie. So everybody has had a bit of a laugh at the expense of Pamela Isley. Now we're getting that sort of Saturday morning cartoon type villain trope where they're talking to themselves. A lot of people actually claim that Uma Thurman and Poison Ivy is the best thing about this movie. I don't really get that. because a lot of the complaints about this movie is the dialogue is cheesy and it's all a bit campy. And I think the character of Pamela Isley / Poison Ivy is very much an embodiment of that sort of stuff, over the top camp. So Mr. Freeze now, we're back with Mr. Freeze in his lair. And we see that Mr. Freeze hates it when people talk during a movie. So that is all that I have been doing throughout Batman and Robin, this movie. So if Mr. Freeze was here, I would be frozen by now, I'm guessing. The actress who plays Mr. Freeze's wife, I think it's Vendela Kiersbom. I think she was Swedish, and I apologise if I mispronounce anybody's names in this commentary. We only ever see Vendela Kiersbom either in sort of pre-recorded video footage that's being played on televisions, and we get to see the mannequin that was designed to be pretty much a replica of her, encased in water. So we have now left the Mr. Freeze lair, and we see that a plan has been put into place involving Wayne Diamonds. This was discussed a little earlier in the movie, so there's kind of a trap being set here. Batman and Robin are hoping that Mr. Freeze will come to this building to steal diamonds, and the idea is they will then catch Mr. Freeze and hopefully put an end to his reign of tyranny, or his reign of crime. Is that even a real word, tyranny? I know that we had Tyrannosaurus Rex, tyrant lizard, tyranny. I'm not sure if that's a real word or not. We're getting more of Elizabeth Sanders. She is also in this scene. I'm not sure if Elizabeth Sanders is still alive or not. It's a very big building. It's very impressive to me anyway. I think this is pretty impressive, this set design. People are swinging from the ceiling on vines. We've got people bidding on women, and this was 1997, and I feel a little, my goodness, in 1997 people were still bidding like this to have the company of a woman. Somebody in the crowd, it's very difficult to look at this person and not think about the actor J.K. Simmons. And I think that has been pointed out before by other people about a particular actor in the crowd. J.K. Simmons, of course, is very connected to the whole Spider-Man character and some of those movies. He was in 3 Spider-Man movies. He also played Commissioner Gordon, actually, as well. But I always think he's more recognisable as the boss, the head of the Daily Bugle. So, we are supposed to really have Mr. Freeze attend the building, but we see Poison Ivy is here, dressed in a purple gorilla suit that she has now just removed, and underneath she is wearing a more traditional outfit that you would associate with Poison Ivy, a green outfit. She's just been caught by men who are all wearing makeup all over their entire bodies. Some of these men are now on the ground as she walks on top. She's also being held by 2 other men holding her arms as they kind of escort her. There's a little bit of the poison ivy love dust that was sprinkled into the air. And we see that Batman and Robin are very interested in this mysterious woman, as is everybody else by the looks of things. She's been asked what her name is, and now it's official. Everybody knows it's Poison Ivy. A little bit more love dust sprinkled into the face of Batman. A little bit of innuendo from Poison Ivy. So now the love dust and the innuendos are now being put upon Robin. Some more dialogue, a little innuendo. So, Mr. Freeze and the diamonds. The diamond necklace was really for Mr. Freeze, but Poison Ivy has now taken the necklace and is now wearing it. I have to say, it is a beautiful necklace. Usually in a Batman movie, there's a famous necklace of pearls. If you're aware of the character of Bruce Wayne and Batman, you will know that Bruce Wayne's mother was wearing a pearl necklace on the night that she was murdered, along with her husband. So now everybody's bidding for the company of Poison Ivy. The infamous Bat credit card has made an appearance. The worst thing about that is the fact that they put in a sound effect, a cha-ching money sound effect. Cha-ching. That to me is even worse. So Mr. Freeze was meant to be lured to this place, and Mr. Freeze has entered. Throughout this movie, Mr. Freeze enters a lot of places with his Freeze-mobile blasting through walls. Batman has just found a way to remove the freeze gun from the hands of Mr. Freeze. Robin has just done quite an impressive backflip. He's taken down some criminals. But there are plenty more. Mr. Freeze has quite a collection of henchmen, as I think I probably said earlier. Robin is continuing to remove henchmen. Mr. Freeze is having no trouble at all from people. He's really able to get rid of people like they're just like nothing, really. Some of that terrible laws of physics that we got in the museum kind of returned here. Mr. Freeze grabbed a vine and somehow managed to transport himself very questionably across the entire room. Poison Ivy has tried some love dust on Mr. Freeze, and we find out that it will not work on him. The diamond necklace has now been removed by Mr. Freeze from Poison Ivy's neck. The Mr. Freeze outfit as well has got a lot of blue lights built into it that light up. I do think it's quite an impressive. I do think it's a pretty, if you'll excuse the pun, cool outfit. Now I'm getting involved in the ice puns. My goodness. Batman has just wished a villain good night after punching his fist through an object, making contact with the villain's face. Mr. Freeze has escaped in his Freeze-mobile. We see that Poison Ivy is very interested in this mysterious Freeze figure. Earlier on, we found out that people have got 11 minutes. If they are encased in ice, they have got 11 minutes. And if they're not thawed before 11 minutes, they will die. Batman has just informed Commissioner Gordon of this. So I hope that all the people that were frozen here do survive. We also see that Bane was dressed as a purple gorilla. He's just kind of walked over to Poison Ivy and removed the gorilla helmet or mask. Anybody who is not familiar with the character of Bane will probably think maybe he's always meant to be a very sort of stupid character. He can't say anything, he's being bossed around, and he doesn't seem to understand what's going on. In the comic books, Bane was very strong and very intelligent, and he actually broke in to the Batcave. He found his way into the Batcave. But this version of Bane, this interpretation of Bane, could not find his way into a tube of Pringles. We're getting a chase scene on a statue, which I think looks pretty impressive. Batman is in the Batmobile. Robin is on the Red Bird. We see that there is a device that allows Batman to shut the Red Bird down if he feels it is needed to be done. The statue is huge and it looks like it's made out of metal. And for some reason Mr. Freeze froze a section of the statue. And you would have thought that would have made it more difficult for vehicles to actually crash through the statue, which is what they do. So if you add ice to metal, you would think that would cause more of a solid surface, and it would make things more difficult and to get through, but it seems to make things more easy in this movie. Mr. Freeze has been caught and is lying on the roof of a building motionless. I think it looks like a mannequin, really. We're now back at the Batcave, and there's a little bit of tension between Batman and Robin that has been created partly through Poison Ivy's love dust and the fact that Batman shut down Robin's Red Bird. Batman is just informing Robin that he really is the head of this partnership. Robin has left the Batcave, clearly not very happy. We're now back with Alfred, who is making a CD for his brother. He's put in a little bit of a recorded audio message as well. So Alfred clearly wants to get back in contact with his brother. Bruce Wayne has decided to pay a little visit to Alfred. The CD message and stuff has been put away, and Alfred's brother does look like a butler. Maybe Peter Parker has decided to get himself a butler. Maybe Alfred's butler brother is out there helping another superhero. Bruce is clearly looking for advice from Alfred. He's wanting to get his opinion on some stuff. Alfred is pointing out that Bruce might not be able to control everything. We get another flashback featuring Eric Lloyd as the young Bruce Wayne. Again, Dunstan checks in, I think came out a year before this movie. For what is Batman if not something attempt to sweep the chaos that surrounds us? Something along those lines. I actually think that the best acting in this movie comes from George Clooney when he is Bruce Wayne interacting with Alfred. Back to the garage, and Barbara has clearly been spending another night riding through the streets of Gotham on her purple motorbike. She's wearing a leather jacket, and underneath the leather jacket, you can clearly see she is wearing a purple top. Probably another reference to the 1960s TV series. Richard has came from behind. Well, now please do not think dirty thoughts, but he came up behind Barbara, put his hand on her shoulder, and was backflipped to the ground. So we see that Barbara has it in her and that she can handle herself in a sticky situation. Again, please do not be juvenile when I say that. Sticky situation. There's enough innuendos and puns in this movie. So, we've left the garage in Wayne Enterprise and we are now back in another location, another place that appeared in the previous movie. The outside of the building in the previous movie looks nothing like the outside of that building in this movie. They look like two completely different places. We are now in Arkham Asylum. Mr. Freeze is going to be kept here. We get to see what happens when Mr. Freeze is out of a cold climate. He starts to really die, I think, and the two actors that are playing security guards here are real life friends, ironically, of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and their names are Jesse Ventura and Ralph Mueller. Ralph Mueller is wearing an eye patch on one of his eyes. It's the first time we really get to see Mr. Freeze in a very distressed and vulnerable, weak condition. But he's now back into a cold beam, so he's building his strength up. When I was talking earlier, I think I mentioned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The character of Bane right now is wearing a top hat and trench coat. And I'm sure that anybody who follows Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will have seen the Turtles donning that type of wardrobe, either in action figures, cartoons, and movies. Poison Ivy and Bane are out looking for somewhere to make a lair for themselves. I'm surprised that hasn't already been done now. Poison Ivy has been in Gotham for quite a while, and it's only really now that we're getting a little place to live. So we're now seeing a gang that are dressed in makeup, and a lot of paintings on walls is very neon lit, which is of course a bit of a reference to the previous movie where we had a neon themed gang. So Bane is taking on the gang, and we see that the gang are causing no problems for Bane at all, and the confrontation is very quickly finished. So Bane is big, mean, and green, and he is very much a part of the criminal scene. Oh my goodness, what did I just do there? My goodness. Maybe, yeah, I'll accept what I just said there. Yeah, a little bit of a rhyme there. So Bane is kind of punching and banging holes in walls and ceilings. The ground as well has had a few holes stomped into it. Got a little bit of water being unleashed from a pipe. Poison ivy is sprinkling some seeds that are producing a lot of plants and vines that are clearly growing quickly. I don't think it really works like that in real life though. Although I'm not really into that sort of thing. So even though Poison Ivy knows she cannot control Mr. Freeze with her love dust, we see that she very much wants to team up with him. And if you've seen this movie, you will know that that does happen. So she's already got Bane teamed up with her, and we see that she plans to get another person to team up with her. So we now leave Poison Ivy's lair, and we're back to Wayne Manor. Bruce Wayne, George Clooney, and Elle Macpherson, whose character name I think is Julie Madison. Julie clearly wants to know if marriage is a possibility between herself and Bruce Wayne. And we get a scene now where she's approaching Bruce, and if you've anybody out there who is with their partner, try not to think of another woman or another person, another man or whatever. And Bruce has clearly made that mistake. As Julie talks to him, he's thinking about Poison Ivy. We've got a kissing scene between Bruce and Julie. Had Bruce have kissed Poison Ivy, he would be dead, of course. We find out that Bruce has at some point said Ivy. And of course, Julie is not happy. I mean, who would be happy if you were sharing a kiss with your partner and they called you someone else's name? I don't think anybody would be happy with that. In fact, I think a lot of relationships could possibly end right there and then at that very moment. Richard is investigating who Poison Ivy might be, but he discovers Barbara Wilson back in the garage. Clearly, she's just taken a motorbike for another motorbike trip. And we are now at a set, or this could be a real life location, I'm not sure. A lot of motorbike fanatics are here. At first it looks like just a gathering of friends, but it's a motorbike race that's going to take place. There's a little bit of music playing here, and it's one of the more famous songs from the soundtrack of this movie. We now get a cameo from, I think, Coolio, who I think is also sadly not with us. I think Coolio might have died as well. So Barbara is very much taking part in what's going on here. There's a lot of people wearing over-the-top makeup and a lot of leather jackets. Richard has followed Barbara here. There's a lot of graffiti on walls and on the ground as well. I actually think this is a pretty good looking scene. A lot of bright lights flashing around because it is Batman and Robin. So Coolio has started the race via the firing of a gun, and we will see how the race pans out. There's a lot of balloons on the ground in this place. I think they might be used to let the racers know where to go, and because it looks like a very confusing layout. There's a lot of sparks flying around as well. This movie really does seem to like to have sparks. There's a lot of that in this movie. So the racers are racing around. Some people are falling around, falling off their bikes. Every time they fall, we get a lot of sparks and bright objects floating around. One of the motorbike helmets has got a Mohican attached to it, which I think is kind of fun. I've just actually noticed there, oh my goodness, that looked like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. I think we actually got a Shaggy from Scooby-Doo appearance. So you can add that to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And what was the other one? Fred Flintstone, the Flintstones. There you go. We're getting another track from the soundtrack of this album. This particular song or this particular track has no words. It's just very much sound and techno and very electronic. I kind of like this actually, this tune that's playing right now. Everybody knows that the Smashing Pumpkins provided a song. I don't think it appears in the movie, but it appears on the credits at the end. And I think the song actually won an award. I think it was a Grammy. So Robin, or Richard and Barbara, are sliding along a bridge that is incomplete, and it looks like they are going to fall to their death. But Richard manages to save himself and Barbara. And I know that this scene where they're both hanging off the bridge, people point out that the green screen effect behind Barbara is terrible. And I am one of those people who would side with that opinion. So, back to the garage of Wayne Manor. And we're finding out a little bit more about Barbara's motivations in this movie. And why Barbara is here, why she's decided to pay a visit to her Uncle Alfred. Barbara is actually supposed to be from England, Oxbridge, and I'm sure people understand what that is. That's obviously just Oxford and Cambridge, those names put together, or part of those names put together. So Barbara is able to tell that her Uncle Alfred is sick, and she's informing Richard of this. Barbara has now left Richard, and we now see that Bruce was listening in. Bruce's opinion is that Alfred is not sick, that he's dying. And I guess that is more accurate, because he really is dying in this movie. So the mood is very low right now. There's a lot of shock with Richard, and we can tell that Bruce, just like Barbara, is clearly upset by the whole circumstances. We're now back to Arkham Asylum, and we see that Mr. Freeze has made a sculpture of his wife from a piece of ice, and he's using a clock mechanism to have the little miniature ice sculpture spin around almost like a dancing ballerina. And we can see that Mr. Freeze he really loves his wife. The facial expression that Arnold is making right now. So Ralph Mueller has decided to get in on the ice puns because he has just called Mr. Freeze Icehead. Mr. Freeze has got a visitor, and that visitor is Poison Ivy. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there a lot of boys and men, I'm sure, who would love to have a visit from Uma Thurman. The two security guards have just had the Poison Ivy love dust blowing in their faces. The security guards are still Jesse Ventura and Ralph Mueller, the real life friends of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So Ralph and Jesse have now been kissed on the lips by Poison Ivy, and as we know, that means they are pretty much dead. That's them gone. Bane is also nearby. He has just broken into the criminal property department. We get a reference to the previous movie. The Riddler and Two-Face costumes were there, even though Two-Face actually died in the previous movie. It doesn't really make sense that his clothing would be there. So Poison Ivy is now talking to Mr. Freeze about teaming up. Bane has got Mr. Freeze's costume and is on his way to the cell to deliver the costume. Uma Thurman has just got in on the ice puns. She has just said, let's cool it for now. People point out that Arnold is, the ice puns in this movie are very heavy, and there's a lot of that, and that's true. But there is a lot of puns based on plants and trees and the earth and nature. Poison Ivy is very much guilty of the puns as well. There's a lot of that in this. So, Mr. Freeze is suited up, and an escape is needed from Arkham Asylum. The escape is going to come from adding ice to a wall that Bane was unable to break. Again, very much like the statue, you add a sort of heavy, strong surface to an already heavy, strong surface, and it's supposed to make it easier to escape from and to break through. And the escape is pretty much almost complete. Poison Ivy has just found out that Mr. Freeze has a wife, and she does not seem happy about that at all. However, the villains, including Bane, have escaped. They jumped from a they have escaped. They landed in water. Oh, can they swim? Let's find out. We will see if they all make it. So, back to Wayne Manor. Another conversation between Bruce and Alfred. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that features that huge fire in Wayne Manor, that fireplace. This is another one of those scenes where you've got that nice huge fireplace nearby. Bruce is finding out if Alfred has regretted spending his life to attending Bruce's, and we find out from Alfred that the only regret he has ever got is that he was not able to go out there and fight crime with Bruce and Richard. So, Mr. Freeze escaped from Arkham. The Gotham Police Force have been informed, and naturally they think the best place to look for Mr. Freeze is his lair, which they have somehow discovered. So, Mr. Freeze, however, is nowhere to be found. I wonder where Mr. Freeze is. Has he stopped off somewhere to get a drink? Something to eat? I don't know. What's he up to? Where is he? So Batman and Robin are here looking around to see what they can find, just like the police officers. We also find out, of course, that Batman and Robin realised they were fighting over a bad guy. Or sorry, bad, yes, guy, no. And Batman has discovered Nora Freeze. We also discover another secret lair in the secret lair. Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy are watching Batman and Robin. They are standing underneath the ground, watching and listening to what's being said. Poison Ivy has requested that Mr. Freeze leave because he's weak, and that he should go back to her secret lair. Of course, one of the things that we also are now seeing is the love dust that has been sprinkled. Batman and Robin have now looked and they realise where that was coming from, and they are now going to investigate. Mr. Freeze has discovered some of the Gotham Police force and has decided to unleash some deadly, life-threatening cold gas from a machine. Commissioner Gordon and the police officers are not doing very well here right now. Back to Batman and Robin searching for Poison Ivy. We now discover that Bane is of course close by. Wherever Poison Ivy is, Bane, I think, will be. That seems to be the way it goes. Wherever they are, wherever she is, he is. Wherever he is, she is. Robin tried to take Bane on, and he did not do very well. Robin has been flung to the ground and is now having some attention from Poison Ivy, with a little more of that love dust that we see she is so fond of using. Now Batman is receiving some attention from Poison Ivy, a little more love dust. I think in this movie the character that gets most of the love dust is probably Robin. Throughout this scene it's actually kind of funny because Batman and Robin, if one of these people is interacting with Poison Ivy, it switches very quickly to Bane, and if they're interacting with Bane, it switches to Poison Ivy because they're being thrown about all over the place. You're obviously getting two very different types of people. You substitute Poison Ivy for Bane, and you substitute Bane for Poison Ivy. I think both of those characters, of course, are dangerous and deadly. They just kind of kill you in a different way. Commissioner Gordon has managed to turn off the cold, freezing, deadly gas. The police are now back up on their feet, only to be thrown back to the ground by Mr. Freeze. Well, he is a strong guy, he really is. Batman has managed to get rid of Bane. He's floored Bane. Poison Ivy is having a conversation with Robin. A little more of the love dust. So, it looks as though Robin and Poison Ivy will kiss. Batman has just hit Bane with a metal bar, and Bane seems to be apprehended, or what's that word again? So, Batman and Robin are having an argument, and Robin has just tried to punch Batman. Batman has thrown Robin into a container, and this is supposed to be an ice cream factory, so I'm guessing this is melted green ice cream. In the first movie in this series of movies, there is a container of green liquid, but the green liquid is acid, and it creates the Joker. And I think it's very fitting in the tone of those movies. The first movie with Tim Burton directing was a more grown up, sinister, serious type tone of movie, and the green stuff is acid that changes a person's hair colour, skin colour, and kind of gives their mouth a look of having a constant smile and grin. But this is a movie much lighter in tone, and the tub of green liquid is really ice cream, so it kind of matches the liquid and kind of matches the tone of the movie. Robin thinks it's time for him to go solo. Poison Ivy and Bane are back to Poison Ivy's lair. Mr. Freeze, of course, as we know, was sent there a little bit earlier. So, Poison Ivy has obviously tried to kill Nora Freeze by switching the machine off, but of course, she's not going to tell Mr. Freeze that. Well, she's not going to say it was her that did it, she's saying it was Batman and Robin. We actually get a tear from Mr. Freeze's right eye, and again, it's very apparent, just the strength of the love that Victor has for his wife. You know, the tear freezes and breaks off. Poison Ivy is using the upset and anger that is clearly very much upon Mr. Freeze. And now we are getting a sort of togetherness of both plans. So human beings are all going to die apart from Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze. Well, Bane as well. Poison Ivy's plant life and her creations that she has put together will thrive. So there's really only supposed to be 3 human beings on this planet, inhabited by ice and plants and trees. And I know there is a bit of a debate and a bit of a realization that people have pointed out about this movie, that both these plans don't really work well together, that one plan would cancel out the other. But the ice that Mr. Freeze wants to cover the world in, you know, those plants that Poison Ivy has created are not ordinary plants. They're kind of pumped up, like steroid type plants, so they should be able to maybe survive, I think. We're now back to Wayne Manor, and Alfred, we just find out he's in stage 1 of McGregor's syndrome. We're finding out from a doctor that perhaps we're all going to have to accept that Alfred will die. There's a very much of a shocked silence going on here in this movie with Bruce, Barbara, and Richard. Mr. Freeze's wife, Nora, had a very sort of long run with McGregor syndrome, and obviously that has led to Nora being placed in the tube and being kept alive through chemicals. So Bruce and Richard are also talking about why they seem to be constantly fighting with each other, and why are we constantly at each other's throats. It's clear that Robin is more taken by poison ivy than Bruce. Richard is really, really taken by poison ivy. Bruce seems to be thinking a little more clearly than Richard. So Alfred is struggling to communicate with Barbara. He's in bed. He's now entrusting the CD that he made earlier to Barbara. And, she is his niece in this movie, even though I don't think she really needs to be, as I've already pointed out. The dialogue that comes from Alfred right now is pretty decent. It's nice. It's touching. I think it's really the villains in this movie that get the worst dialogue. Alfred has just pointed out that he thinks Barbara looks very much like her mother, Peg/Margaret. Oh, I actually kind of wish I knew who that photograph actually was of. Who is actually playing the photograph of Margaret? I kind of wish I knew that now, actually. Oh, I really don't like this movie, but I wish I kind of knew that. So we're now back at the Wayne Observatory, Gotham Observatory, I suppose. Again, Elizabeth Sanders is nearby. We also discover Pamela Isley is nearby. And wherever Pamela Isley is, we usually have Bane and trouble. Pamela is now using her love dust on Commissioner Gordon. She wants to know how to gain access to the top of Gotham Police headquarters. She clearly wants access to the Batlight for some reason. I'm not quite sure what having access to a Batlight would really do to help your plan. So, some more love dust for Commissioner Gordon. The love dust, of course, is floating around and Bruce Wayne gets a little whiffed. So he knows Poison Ivy is nearby. He's had a quick look to see if he can see. But he will not recognise Poison Ivy in her Pamela Isley form, even though they both seem to have very much the same desire and interest, plants and flora. Bruce, of course, is accompanied by Julie Madison and is doing his best to see if he can spot Poison Ivy, while at the same time trying not to ignore his partner, his girlfriend, her partner, Julie. Now we're back with Mr. Freeze, who is suited up. Mr. Freeze's wardrobe in this movie consists really of his metal freeze suit and a big, long dressing gown and slippers. The dressing gown's, of course, light blue. And quickly now, we're at the top of police headquarters. Barbara Ling was the production designer on this movie, and a lot of the city, the way the city looks, is all down to Barbara Ling. We find out why Poison Ivy wanted access to the top of police headquarters to steal the Batlight via Bane. Barbara is trying to find out what messages the CD holds. Bruce has decided to visit Alfred. From this point on, Alfred will be pretty much spending time in bed, really. There will be spoilers at the end of this movie. Alfred does get out of bed, but for now, Alfred will be very immobile. He will get worse before he gets better. So Alfred, played by Michael Gough, as I've already probably said, is no longer with us. He's sadly no longer with us. But out of all the Batman movies that Michael Gough has made, obviously there are 4, this is definitely the one where Alfred has the most attention on his character. And it's the one where Michael Gough gets the most screen time and dialogue. I would say he gets the most screen time and dialogue in this movie. And it's a shame that it is in this movie that is quite terrible. I am definitely not a fan of this movie. I really am not. Alfred has just spoke to Bruce and informed him that you might not always be able to stop death. Bruce is trying his best to keep himself composed. So that's really some great acting from Michael Gough and George Clooney. Meanwhile, Barbara is still trying to hack into the CD, and the continuity mistake that I talked about, I think, earlier with the photograph and those 2 words, love peg, appearing and disappearing between shots, has just happened. Oh my goodness, it's very easy to spot that mistake. So the password was peg, and now we have got some of the vehicles from the previous movie as well as vehicles from this movie flashing before Barbara's very eyes, along with the Batman and Robin movie logo for some reason. Back to the streets of Gotham. The Freeze mobile, along with Mr. Freeze and Bane. We are heading toward Gotham Observatory. The telescope, of course, is going to be turned into a giant freeze gun. And that means nothing but trouble for the people of Gotham and the rest of the world. So Richard is in his Robin outfit and is going out for a night of crime fighting. He also wants the company of Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy and Bane stole the Batlight to change it into a Robin light. Couldn't they have just obtained their own light and just stuck the Robin logo on it? So Bruce is trying to talk some sense in to Robin. He's trying to reason with Robin. He's asking Robin to actually think about some of the things that he himself was saying to Bruce earlier on in the movie. And it looks as though maybe the dynamic duo have got their friendship and trust back together. Anyone who has seen this movie will know how it all goes. Back to Gotham Observatory that has just been broken into by Mr. Freeze and Bane. Something that I like, the sound effect of the freeze gun when it's being shot at the expense of two scientists. They're now encased in ice. So you've got 11 minutes before you die. And Bane is walking around constantly saying the word bomb and is placing bombs that to me look like Christmas tree decorations. These decorations are being placed all around. They're being placed all around this place. They're lighting up like white icicle Christmas tree decorations. But they are bombs. And anyone who has seen this movie will know that they do work. There will be explosions. There will be explosions. So the process of turning the telescope into a giant freeze gun has happened very easily. Again, I don't think it would be that easy in real life. It would obviously be impossible, but anyway. So Barbara is in the Batcave looking around. She has just found out, of course, the secret identity of Bruce and Richard. I think that's quite a lot to take in though, really, isn't it? The Bat computer is now switched on. And we see Alfred wanting to be given information as to who exactly is in the Batcave. We find out that Alfred has managed to transfer his brain algorithms into the Bat computer. We now discover that there is a Batgirl costume waiting. And now we get to see Alicia Silverstone suiting up, just like Batman and Robin suited up at the start of the movie. Of course, at kind of the start of the movie, we found out that Alfred did not want Barbara doing anything that he thought was dangerous, like riding motorbikes. But he seems to be okay with Barbara going out to fight crime in Gotham City. So I'm sure people will see the problem with that. Robin has followed the Robin signal, which of course has led to Poison Ivy's lair. And I think this is actually quite a beautiful set. A lot of trees and leaves and flowers and vines and plants. There's a lot of purple colour in this scene, a lot of purple and green. The vines are moving around a lot. And now we see Poison Ivy encased in a huge, beautiful flower. Her green outfit has now been substituted for a pink-red outfit. And Robin is making his way over to Poison Ivy. There's a little body of water that Robin does not have to take. He could actually still walk around the edges and get to Poison Ivy. A little bit of a plant pun. I want to know if you're serious about turning over a new leaf. That actual pun came from Robin, so there is Robin getting in on the plant puns. So, like I said earlier, it is not all Mr. Freeze. If you kiss Poison Ivy on the lips, you die. And Poison Ivy and Robin are kissing each other on the lips. And what does this mean? Well, Robin's lips were covered in a rubber material. Robin has revealed to the audience, as well as Poison Ivy, this very fact. Of course, he does do it when he is still within kissing distance of Poison Ivy. But instead of kissing him now, without the rubber lips, or the rubber lips, that's an insult, I think, probably. Without the rubber on his lips, she just pushes him into the water. Batman has also turned up, but he is now being surrounded by vines and is now being hung upside down from the ceiling while Poison Ivy's vines continue to wrap around him. We find out, of course, that just like Batman, Batgirl likes to enter a building through a window in the roof. And now we get to see Alicia Silverstone in full Batgirl costume. And again, it's fine. I don't have any problems. It's a part of this movie, and then we switch to the footage of Robin trying to escape the pond, and we get the infamous reverse footage, or reversing of the film. A fight is taking place between Batgirl and Poison Ivy. And Batgirl seems to have got the better of Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy has pulled out a knife and she's checking her hair, and this to me is very sexist. She's lost her knife, although I don't think it really was much of a threat for Batgirl. Poison Ivy is now being encased in that giant flower she was encased in earlier, and it seems to be Poison Ivy can't really do much else to hurt Batgirl, Batman, or Robin. There's a little scene there where you can see her legs kicking around. So, Batman, Batgirl, and Robin, they're all together in this scene. Of course, there is the issue of Mr. Freeze that needs to be dealt with. And now the Gotham Observatory is back on our screen. It is completely frozen on the inside and on the outside right now. Another ice pun from Mr. Freeze, who now also is talking with some sort of blue laser light in his mouth. I'm not sure how that is, but anyway. So Mr. Freeze is also now freezing some of Gotham City. The telescope freeze gun is causing problems. Oh, that LED light every time he talks, my goodness. So buildings and people, including dogs, using fire hydrants for what dogs use fire hydrants for, are all being frozen. The Gotham Police Department are clearly aware that something is wrong, and they are making their way to the observatory. However, the cars and ground have just been frozen, and they're crashing into buildings with explosions, of course. We have to have an explosion, just like James Bond movies when a car crashes. Superhero movies, and especially Batman movies, seem to follow a lot of the James Bond movie tropes. So, just like the Gotham Police Force, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl are on their way to the Gotham Observatory. The Freeze mobile is being driven by a henchman. Now, because of my age, I don't remember much about the 1990s, but Batman, Robin, and Batgirl have got different vehicles and costumes for some reason. The vehicle that Batman is driving is called the Ice Hammer, and I think it looks, oh, and I'm sorry, cool. That was pun unintended. I think that if this vehicle was made into a toy, and it probably was, I think most kids would love to have got an Ice Hammer toy vehicle. So Batman, Batgirl, and Robin have got a lot of silver patches on their suits, and they have made their way to the observatory. The grappling hooks have been used, and our heroes are on their way up to take on Mr. Freeze and Bane. No sign of the snowman. Maybe he melted. No, he's just hibernating. Each character had one of those lines that they just spoke there. So the hunt is on to find Mr. Freeze. He's obviously hiding somewhere. The frozen scientists are now being unfrozen. So 2 lives have been saved. That's always a good thing. Batman, Batgirl, and Robin are trying to work out how the telescope operates. There's a lot of laser guns being used to remove a lot of ice around the building. Batman has decided to take the computer on. We get a shot from outer space, and I think out of every movie in this series, that's the first one that shows us outer space, this movie. Mr. Freeze has come out of hiding and has just managed to very easily throw Batman quite a distance away. Robin and Batgirl have fallen and are on their way free falling. Robin has just shot his grappling hook that has attached to some ice. He has swooped in to grab Batgirl. Anyone who has seen the previous movie will know that Robin has a habit for swooping in and grabbing people. The ice broke, but Batgirl managed to have her grappling hook connect with something that will not break. The 2 observatory workers are now clinging on to the telescope along with Batman, who is upside down. Batman has left his hanging position and has swung across the room to get rid of Mr. Freeze. So there you go. You would think that Batgirl and Robin are safe, but they have just landed right in front of Bane, and he has grabbed them both. And with all of that strength that Bane has, you do fear for what's going to happen. Now we're back to Mr. Freeze versus Batman. Every time Batman punches and kicks Mr. Freeze, it has absolutely no effect. That suit really must be strong. Of course, it is being worn by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Robin and Batgirl realise that if you want to take Mr. or if you want to get rid of the threat of Bane, kick the tubes that were attached to his mask. and therefore you return Bane to the form of Antonio Diego. You replace Jeep Swanson for Michael Reed McKay. Some people say in this movie none of the villains actually die, but I think it's safe to say that Bane dies, because this entire building will blow up. Anyone who has seen this movie will know, and I don't think Bane is able to move around too good. Back to outer space for another shot of satellites, and ice is being sunrays are being reflected off surfaces to thaw frozen parts of the world as well as frozen parts of the observatory. Mr. Freeze is pretty much... he doesn't really look like he's in much danger. He's kind of just lying on his back, making a few noises, but he doesn't look weak. Obviously, it's time to thaw, and that's what's happening. So the bombs that were being planted by Bane, something actually that is very similar to another Batman movie that features Bane planting bombs, and this movie had a frozen bat logo, just like the other Batman movie that features the character of Bane, which of course is The Dark Knight Rises. Mr. Freeze's helmet has fallen off in all of the destruction because the bombs have been detonated. Something that I noticed as well about Mr. Freeze's helmet, it never actually covered his entire face. In fact, his nose and pretty much the front of his face were very much not covered. And I thought that was odd for a character that can only survive in cold climate, that his entire front face was not really covered. So it's now Batman's turn to free fall, along with the two observatory workers. Oh, I wish I knew their names actually. I kind of like these two characters. I mean, I don't really think about them a lot, but in this movie, they're fine. They have just been rescued by Batman. Batman has decided to go back to the top of the building. Kind of turns into a bit of a taxi in a way. And the passengers are Robin and Batgirl. So we're back to the top of the observatory again. The Batgirl costume that Batgirl first wore was ditched very, very quickly for the special version. That suit didn't stay around long. Now it's all the suits are very much the silver patch suits. Barbara is doing a very good job of realigning satellite dishes, which of course is going to freeze a lot of ice all around the world. Gotham City is getting saved. More ice is melting. It's always good to see, isn't it? When the good guys are victorious in their attempt of heroics. We now get to see some of the actual citizens that were frozen. They're being unfrozen now. Some of the ice is clearly rubber. If you can pick up on some of the wobbling of the ice, it's clearly rubber. There's actually something about this scene that for some reason, there's our dog that has just been thawed from ice. The dog has just ran off. Something about that scene with everybody being unfrozen is actually making me think about the coronavirus pandemic that most of us experienced in one way or another. And, we all have come through quite an ordeal regarding that. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. There was a lot of death and you couldn't go anywhere. There's just something about people being relieved of that trapping of ice and getting back to normal or what they were before. Just kind of made me think about coronavirus and what we all came through. Batman has just informed Mr. Freeze that Nora is alive. He has shown Mr. Freeze video footage that we know was not recorded by him or anybody else in terms of characters in this movie. It was actually the bombs that Bane planted that kind of caused most of the problems for Mr. Freeze. And it was Robin and Batgirl that got rid of Bane. It was also Batgirl that played a huge part in the computer work to align the satellites. So what I'm saying is Batman has not really done much in this movie. Also, the Batman special suit, I think it looks very much, I think it was actually the special suit in the previous movie. So there seems to be a bit of a truce and a bit of a, okay, let's help each other kind of thing going on with Batman and Mr. Freeze. Alfred might be about to get cured. We've just got a scene where Robin and Batgirl both look at each other and smile. And they also smile without the Joker and the use of any knives or any acid. Back to Wayne Manor. And our heroes are no longer wearing their masks, but still their costumes, which is a pretty cool shot, I think. Oh, actually, Batgirl is actually not wearing her costume. She's just back to her ordinary clothes. I suppose another continuity mistake, actually. Robin's silver bird has gone back to being red. I always thought it was funny. In this movie, of course, George Clooney was very well known for playing Dr. Doug Ross on ER. And in this Batman movie, he has the little jars of liquid that he attaches to a drip that Alfred is on. So he's still kind of doing medical doctor work. I thought that was kind of funny. Poison Ivy is in Arkham. She's got a cellmate who, of course, is none other than LED light in the mouth, still Mr. Freeze. In The Dark Knight Rises, we have Anne Hathaway, aka Selina Kyle, aka the Cat, as she is called, sharing a prison with men. So there you go, men and women are sharing prison cells and Arkham ward cells with each other. Back to Wayne Manor, there's a lot of cushions, pillows and clothes thrown about all over the place. At some point, someone has ordered pizza. We see some pizza boxes and some pizzas lying about. So the pizzas were cancelled, but at some stage, more pizzas at some point were reordered. And Alfred is back on his feet. He's of course very well, but disappointed in the mess that he has discovered. I think we even see a cape flung over a settee / couch / sofa. 3 words. 3 words for settee. Is it a settee, couch, or sofa? Nah, don't think it really matters what you say. We're also finding out that Barbara has got no intention on returning back to England and university, and that she is going to be staying here, and she will be teaming up with Batman and Robin to fight crime. So, a new member to the team and to the family in the form of Barbara, played of course by Alicia Silverstone. Alfred realizes, or at least he thinks, that because of this, the Batcave is going to have to be increased in size. And just like the end of the previous movie, we have got the heroes running, I think in slow motion you would say, toward the camera, while the Bat logo shines bright in the background. And, well, the end of Batman and Robin. I am not a fan of this movie, and this is obviously going to be a bit of a summary. I'm not a fan at all. I think it got some things right. It did some things really well. But I do think it got more wrong than what it got right. The introduction of Batgirl, it seemed like a good idea, but the whole change of DNA just kind of, I still think it was unneeded. You know, if you listen to what I said at the start, I think they should have went down that direction. But we got what we got. And it's not a very popular movie. I don't know if I will ever watch it ever again. I don't know if I will or not. If you are a fan of Batman or superheroes in general, most people prefer their favorite superheroes to be treated, you know, to be represented and to be treated seriously and very much faithfully to their comic book appearances. This movie did not do that with any of the characters, whether it's the heroes or the villains. There was a lot of camp and lighthearted sort of tone to this movie. It, you know, now of course we have got Christian Bale and his Batman trilogy with Christopher Nolan, the director. So you also have got Robert Pattinson, who has so far released one Batman movie, and they seem to be the more beloved and popular representations of the character. And I myself would definitely gravitate more toward Christian Bale and Robert Pattinson. Of course, you could, of course, go for Michael Keaton, who was, you know, Batman was good and loved before this movie with Michael Keaton. So you do have, there are good versions out there, and this movie is now, I think, just seen as a misstep that took place almost 30 years ago. I think it was, wasn't it? Yep, yeah, 1997. That's almost 30 years ago. My goodness. Folks, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yep, okay, that's my first ever movie commentary on YouTube complete. Thank you, folks. Bye.